Worship acoustic guitar players. Capos can be really useful because no acoustic guitar player wants to play in D flat without a capo. But you have to use it right. There's one fret that you should never capo at or above, and I can give you 3 good reasons why. Let's talk about it. Welcome to Blueprint Sounds. My name is Nathan Smith, so glad you're joining me. And today we're going to talk about capos, how to use them, and how not to use them. But before we do, make sure that you go to my website, blueprintsounds.com, if you haven't already, to get access to my free worship workshop. It's called 5 Elements of a Full Sounding Worship Team. It's a 45-minute training for you and your team to give you a framework on how to understand what the different parts of a full sounding band are so that everybody can do their job and not overlap. But it also gives you examples of a groove that went wrong. Maybe you'll recognize some of those sounds. I certainly do in live streams that I listen to, so that you can avoid those mistakes and everybody can stay out of the way of each other and have a full sound rather than a muddy, dull, or thick sound. So again, that's 5 elements of a full sounding worship team. Make sure to go to my website for access. All right, let's get into today's topic, and it's all about the capo for acoustic guitar players. Obviously, the capo is a great help when we need to get out of playing keys like D flat or E flat or B flat. Those keys just don't sing well on the acoustic. We like to play in open keys like C, A, G, E, and D. But you can't capo at or above fret 5, and I can give you 3 really good reasons why you wouldn't want to do that. The first reason has to do with your sound guide. So let's jump over to the computer and I'll show you what I'm talking about. So I have my acoustic guitar plugged directly from a cord, my onboard pickup through a cord into my Apollo Twin interface. Obviously not ideal. I would mic it usually, but this is typical of what you're going to hear on a Sunday morning. So this is with no EQ. So pretty typical piezo pickup. And let's take a look at what I had to do with EQ to get it to sit right. So if I turn it on, you can see that I took out 300. That was kind of a resonant frequency. It kind of was lumpy. And I took out 600 because often these problems show up in octaves. So you double it, 600, 1200, 2400. And then I've got the low cut or the high pass taking off everything to about 120. So let's listen to the difference it made. First I'll do it without. Okay, so not a world changer, but it's definitely better than it was. It smoothed out some of that lumpiness and that resonance. Well, here's what happens. I went over to fret 5, did the same chord progression, but capoed at fret 5, and let's listen to what it sounds like now. What happened was, because I moved everything up, I have moved the resonances on my acoustic guitar away from the points where I had started with them, right? So originally it was 300 was a problem, 600 was a problem, 1.2 and 2.4 were a problem. Well, what I had to do in this next round of EQ, I'll pull this one up, is I found out that it was more like 400, 430, 790, 15. So I was quite a long way away. Let's listen to it now. Right? It sounds like a different instrument because it really is a different instrument. 5 frets is quite a long way to jump. And so imagine a Sunday morning where you do your sound check with no capo on, and let's just say that your live sound engineer sees problems in 300, 600, 1200, and 2400. He dips those out and you sound great. And all of a sudden you put a capo on fret 5 and you've moved up the resonances and the problems to 400, 800, 1600, etc., etc. All of a sudden his EQ doesn't match and your guitar sounds worse than it did before because it's literally a different sounding instrument than it was before. You just moved things up too high. So that's the first reason why you wouldn't want a capo at fret 5 or above, because it starts to do weird things to your tone and your EQ would suffer as a result. The second reason why you shouldn't capo at fret 5 or above has to do with intonation. And intonation is just a fancy word for your guitar's ability to play in tune up and down the neck. So when you have your acoustic guitar and you tune the open strings, E, A, D, G, B, E, they're fine when you're playing close to about 0 to fret 3, right? In that open range, you're pretty well in tune. But here's what happens. When you put a capo on your string, here's what it does. Here's my string, and here's where the capo goes. It doesn't just pinch down on the string and make it sound higher. It actually slightly gathers some of the string into the space in between those frets. So it does this. It kind of crimps it, and it makes the string shorter. Well, shorter strings go sharp. So I know on my acoustic guitar that this specifically affects the lowest string, the E string. So when I'm strumming in open position, it sounds pretty good. But when I capo, it makes that lowest string shorter, and that all of a sudden makes my bass note a little bit sharp compared to the rest of the acoustic guitar. That becomes more pronounced, and it becomes worse as you go up the guitar neck. That's a big problem because if your bass note is out of tune, it makes the rest of your chords sound really bad. And depending upon your acoustic guitar, it might not just be your lowest string, it might be all of your strings that go out of tune. They're no longer intonated, they're no longer in tune if you play up the neck. Now, the better your guitar is, the less of a problem that is. You know, if you spend $1,000 or more on your acoustic, the problem will be less pronounced. But even then, it's going to need to be professionally set up, and even then, you might still have intonation problems. So you'd be better off capoing lower or not capoing at all, and making sure that you are actually playing in tune. And the third reason why you don't want to capo at fret 5 or above is because you don't really need to. Let me explain on the guitar. So here I have my acoustic guitar and capo, and I want to play in the key of F. Not a particularly friendly acoustic guitar key. Well, there's two solutions, and one is clearly better than the other. Let's say that I want to be in F, and all I'm really comfortable is with the C shape. So I've got C, F, maybe I could do a cheater F, and A minor, and G. Well, to play an F, I would have to capo all the way up, but for the first two reasons that we talked about, both the intonation issue and the fact that now I'm so far up that my EQ doesn't sound like it should, right? I'm going to be out of tune and I'm going to sound bad for no good reason. Well, there's a simpler solution than taking it all the way up to fret 5. If I'm comfortable playing in the key of E, I can do E, A, C sharp minor, B. I can do all that same stuff, but now stay much closer to home. I'm only capoing at fret 1. And my sound engineer is going to be happier. My guitar will sound happier because it's closer to home, so the intonation is going to be better. Everything works better when I know how to play in the key of E major, not just C. So as an acoustic guitarist, you have to be able to play in these 5 keys: C major, A major, G major, E major, and D major. Yes, that means you're going to have to get used to some bar chords like B minor, F sharp minor, C sharp minor, or find some workarounds. But that's worth it to not have a bad sounding acoustic guitar EQ-wise and an out of tune acoustic guitar as well. Now I should mention that there are exceptions to the rule where you could capo at fret 5 or above. One of them would be in studio. If you wanted to layer acoustic guitar sounds, or if you had a particular pattern that you liked, well, yeah, you could just capo and then tune your guitar with the capo on to make sure that everything is perfectly intonated, and then when you apply EQ, you can apply it however you'd like. That would be one way that you could do it. Or if you had a separate guitar for a Sunday morning and you ran that through its own sound check, you put the capo on fret 5, you run the sound check, have your sound engineer get you dialed in, dipping out the resonant parts and making it sound good, and then you just leave it. You only play that one song that needs that special treatment on that guitar, and then you go back to your regular guitar for the rest of the set. I could see how that would work. And there may be others that I'm not thinking of. But by and large, on a typical Sunday morning, you want to keep your capo below fret 5 so that you don't have those intonation issues and so that you don't have those issues with EQ. Yes, you're going to have to get confident with some new chords, but hey, why not? Hey, I hope that video helps you. Again, go to my website, blueprintsounds.com, to get access to my free workshop, 5 elements of a full sounding worship team, if you're looking for more tips to help you and your team. Until next time, God bless and goodbye.